In the start we see a house. In the house a glass of wine was on the floor. A person was saying that it was the poison that neutralizes the mana in the person's body. That person was the king of the United Empire. Our main character was spitting blood out of his mouth. The other person said that poison's effects should only last for the couple of minutes on our main character at least, and that's why he also mixed in the couple of other poisons. Our main character said but why he did it. The other person said that our hero should already know the answer. The reason is our main character's power. He said that power will be no help to the United Empire's future. It may have been different if they have in the middle of a war, but as of right now main character is nothing but a source of unease. I will not start a spark of rebellion. I will live the remainder of my life quietly in my hometown. That were the words our main character said in the past to the other person. Our main character was shocked, and he think that he just wanted to clean his blooded hands even just a little bit. He wanted to live in a way which would allow him to repent for all his sins and the lives that were lost because of him, and those that have lost their loved ones because of him. But other person said, Ian, were you aware I was afraid of you? He almost went insane because he was afraid of his old friend, the 8th class magician, the one who was able to overthrow him and his empire at any time. How can he let such a monster alive? Then he revealed that he was the old friend of our main character, and he said, please do not forgive me. After that he went out of the house. Our main character was still in the house that was on the fire. Our main character thinks that he was too careless, however Ragnar, the one who gave him the poison, was also too careless. Our main character was researching while regretting the life he have led until then he revealed the dagger that had the time magic spell embedded on it. If our main character stabbed his heart with that dagger before poison corrupts it, he would be able to use magic one last time. Then our main character stab himself and speak the spell. Then we saw some past memories of our main character. After a flesh, our main character was in the child body. Suddenly someone called out our main character by his name, Ian. When our main character turned to see, he saw his mother. Our main character was shocked that his mother was died, but why is she here? He think, did he succeed in traveling back to time, or was he meeting his mother in the hell? Then we saw the children who was lined up for assessment of their tests, and the territory knights were keeping people in the order. The white flag that was fluttering on the top of the ivory tower. Our main character realized that he has come back in the time to the 30 years ago. Mana reaction test. In order to produce magicians, the basis of a kingdom's power, every child in the Green River Empire had to take a mandatory mana reaction test the year they turned 12 years old. The first part of the mana brain, which has role of revealing magic. The second part teats the mana heart, which generates, circulates and stores mana. Those who fit the requirements of both tests are sent to the Magic Academy immediately and gain national authority right after they graduate. Our main character Ian thinks that 30 years he has came back a lot further than he expected. The dragon's language, which is known as the foundation of the magic. The time magic that Ian spent so much time studying for penance worked right before he died. He think that under the title of a friend he gave everything, and under the title of the loyalty he killed many foe, the emperor and his best friend Ragnar, who he was faithful and loyal. He was used and was ultimately killed. He thinks that he can't let this end in the vein again this time. Then suddenly someone called the next. Ian told her mother that he will be right back. He introduced himself as the Ian Page from Mogrian village. Soldier suddenly asked, is he Vanessa's kid, and tell him to go him in. Ian entered the dome. Inside the tent we see the magician with black hair. He asked the Ian to come closer and lower his head. The magician told Ian that the man will simulate his head a little and he might get dizzy, but it will only be temporary. Then magician smiled and asked Ian to turn around with his back facing him. He said that he has found mana break in the Ian's body. Ian was not happy about this information. He thinks that it was not enough to simply get into the academy. He started to showing off his skills. Ian cast the double casting. Magician was shocked. Then Ian replied he don't know the reason, but he is able to do it. Everyone was shocked. Magician asked did he learn anything from someone else, but Ian replied he don't. Magician again asked was he sure, and then he activated magic that detects lies by checking one's heartbeat. Magician tell if Ian lie then he could be a traitor, not only him but his whole family will be punished, but Ian again replied in no. Magician detected that Ian was not lying, all he was saying was truth. In the moment all heard the screaming of a woman. It was Ian's mother. His mother was requesting someone to not do this. A soldier who was holding Rebecca's hand told her to shut up. Soldier arrogantly tell Rebecca that she should be grateful for him to pay attention to someone like her. In instant a person who was with the magician asked what was all that fuss about. Soldier Soldier replied it was not big deal since a maid don't know her place. He was giving her strong warning. Ian aggressively asked what the hell did he said. But Magician stopped Ian from being aggressive. Then Magician told Soldier Ian was turned out to be a wizard with 2 mana qualities, therefore Ian has the same authority as the noble and those who go against nobles will punish by the death. The soldier was shocked. Suddenly he goes into Ian's legs and asked him to forgive him and spare his life. Ian replied there was someone else, whom should he say sorry. Soldier suddenly realized and goes to Ian's mother legs and asked for forgiveness. Ian's mother was confused by this sudden actions. Then Ian went to Soldier and told him he knows what kind of dirty things he said to his mother, so every single thing he listened today, say every single thing to every other trashes like him that he will be watching. Magician was thinking to possess such talents and intelligence at such a young age, the royal family and Ivory Tower will be in commotion. Soldier was scared until he understands. After all this thing happened, Ian tell Magician thanks for helping him out there. Magician said it was nothing and it was his job to help him. Then Magician introduced the man who was next to him, whose name was Lord Aaron. He was going to guarding our protagonist and his mother for the time being when the things are arranged. Aaron tells Ian that he is going to bring him to where knights are currently staying. Ian holds hands of his mother and tell her let's start the next stage of their new life. Magician was so impressive that he was going to report things to royal family. At evening the sky was dark. The soldier from earlier walks down the streets angrily, drunk and furious that some kid was able to force him to his knees. In the future he is going to pay them back. Ian uses paralyze magic and froze him on the spot. Ian said he overheard what that guard said about him and his mother. He removes hood from his head and asks the guard to explain the things. Then Ian pushes him into the water and tell him that how he died. Ian watches the guard's lifeless body floating in the river and it reminds him how the emperor left him to die in the house in his past life. Ian quickly returned his home and being exhausted by using that paralyze magic. He tells himself that he needs to train his small body as fast as possible. In his past life he recognition as the first-class magician after attending 1 year of magic academy. However, even though he became magician, his mother was not able to live life in luxury and passed away. Ian looked down and speak that this time he is going to save his mother so she can live longer. Then we see the large building. It was Green River Empire's capital. Inside there was Emperor of the Green River Empire. He was in middle of the conversation with the other magician named Herbert and the two of them are discussing about our protagonist. Herbert explains that mana is energy that flows and circulates in the blood. The moment you are able to move that spirit of your own volition, you are acknowledged as a magician. Simulating the mana brain through techniques and methods of manifesting magic. Normally anyone can learn that at academy, as he had done and most magicians also had. Yet our protagonist was able to use magic without training. He compares our protagonist to someone who was called first-class magician, that was someone long ago who taught himself how to use mana. He discovered how to manifest mana by himself and became known as the first magician emperor, thinking that there was no way someone alive today using magic without going to an academy. Herbert agrees and said it was suspicious and finds hard to believe what he has heard. He says he was going by himself to confirm with his eyes. The emperor thinks for some moment, knowing that if it is true then our protagonist must possess the dangerous abilities. He calls the prince who was standing outside and has been listening to everything. Then we see the prince of Green River. His name was Hayden and he asks why father called for him. Emperor says that since it has been 5 years prince has left the castle, he should go outside. He told his son he is going to give him 300 soldiers and 3 magicians. He should go and collect a boy named Ian Page. At that moment emperor thinks himself fool to expect something from his son. However, Hayden insists he can be trusted and he will complete the mission. Emperor tells him okay and do his job done. Herbert also takes his leave. After leaving the room his face turns serious. His assistant asks him is he going back to tower to find the magicians, but Herbert says no, he tell there is somewhere he needs to go first. Then we see the place where our protagonist and his mother is staying. Ian was looking at window as he is waiting for someone. He knows that Emperor family will come for him very soon, and things are moving as he planned. That previous magician must have been reported Ian's performance. Prince and Herbert both will come looking for Ian because in near future there will be a war between Empire and Ivory Tower. Ian knows this from his past life. He doesn't knows which side he is going to help. His thoughts were interrupted by the Imperial order who have arrived much sooner than he expected. Outside he greeted by the magician from earlier who was holding a magic orb. He says Emperor has issued the Imperial order. Ian greets them. The massage from the Emperor appears from the magic orb and magician says loud. It states that Emperor has heard high abilities that have been displayed by Ian Page and he has received the recognition as the magician and he will be recorded in the Ivory Tower registration. Emperor also invites him to visit at the Imperial Castle and he is sending his own son to accompany him. He immediately greeted by the knight he and other knights will be serving him. The lord of the territory Marquise was waiting for the arrival of them. He told his son and daughter to mind their words. Although Ian is still young, he is magician and Emperor is interested in him, so they have to leave a good impression. He welcomes Ian and his mother to his castle. In few days Ian becomes hot topic. Then we see Ian at the training grounds where he has been spending majority of his time. He practicing his magic. By performing an ice spell Ian wasn't happy. He was thinking if he was in his other body he would be able to freeze whole castle. He has to make for something for his mana. Then someone arrives and tells Ian that he needs help. He tells Lord Marquise has gone missing. His son and knights are also not returned. When Ian think of his previous life he was sure that Marquise is not going to die today. Later he was assassinated by enemy Emperor. Ian tell the person to go and asked for help to the magician instead. However, old man replied that magician who was stationed here has busy in other missions and not available. Ian was shocked. It is rare that magician was not there. He think that is it related to Marquise's disappearance. This could be dangerous. Ian's most important ability is to knowing about future. If the timeline gets screwed up then he would lose this weapon. Ian looks at the old man telling him he will help them to look for Lord Marquise. Ian immediately gets ready to leave. However, someone calls out his name. It was his mother Rebecca, who has heard what was going on and worried that it is too dangerous. Ian tells his mother not to worry. He may be a child but he is also a magician now and he will be back before anyone knows it. Lord Marquise's daughter also requested Ian to bring his father back, saying she will do anything if he would be successful. Ian noticed a ring in her finger and tell her that he will bring them back but asks to borrow her ring so he can get more mana from it. Daughter agrees and hand over ring to Ian. Ian puts the ring in his finger and can't believe that it was just like the one he saw in his previous life. A low-grade artifact that increases mana. Who wears it? Lord's daughter tell him she wants it back after the Ian comes back, because it was important to her. Then Ian takes his leave. Then they goes to where Lord Marquise was last found. There were corpse of the monsters. Ian realized he needs to find them before it gets late. Ian uses his magic to summon a wolf. Knight was all shocked. He points blood send asked it to pick up a scent and follow it. Puppy started to leading the way. Second side Lord Marquise was fighting and slaying goblins. Marquise and his party were surrounded by the herd of goblins. If this continues they all be annihilated. While Marquise turns to his Don telling him to escape to the castle while he distracts the monsters. When they two were talking a goblin approaches him from behind. The sun calls out at the last second but it was too late. Suddenly a flash of ice appears and all of the enemies are frozen. Everyone was wondering what just happened. The ice came from the Ian who was arrived at the last second to save them. Any longer the Lord have been died and timeline would be screwed. Lord Marquise was so surprised by the situation he passed out. When he wakes up he find himself back in the castle with his daughter by his side. She explained that Ian saved everyone and the Lord and his son both have been in sleep for 2 days. Old man from earlier appeared and make report that 12 soldiers could not returned and died. Lord Marquise was upset. He tell him that he wants to meet Ian. Butler find Ian in the training grounds and tell him that Lord has woke up and he wants to meet the Ian. Ian was little confused, but he follows Butler. Inside Marquise and his son thanked Ian from bottom of their heart for saving them. He says Ian protected both current and future leaders. Not only this but he also protected the territory by defeating the monsters. And he would not feel right if he didn't repay this. He give a box to the Ian as the reward. Ian opens it and finds the Margaret ring that he borrowed earlier. Marquise says that Ian was interested in this ring and asked what powers does that ring hold. Ian explains that it is the ring that gives the power by releasing the mana to the one wears it. It helped him to defeating the goblins. Lord says Ian can keep the ring. He can think of it as the token. Ian was surprised. Then Lord Marquise make an announcement that from this moment onwards Ian Page will be served as the honored guest of the Mongolian family, and the ring will serve as a token of lasting promise to Ian. He asked Ian will he accept. Lord Marquise added that his family will always welcome the visit of Sir Ian Page when they require their help in any way and always stay beside him. Then I swear that their relationship will last long by generation to generation. Then we see the scenery of the jungle. Ian and some knights were walking on the path. Ian asked Captain that how long it will take them to reach the town of Lloyd. Captain replied that they will arrive arrive there shortly. They will arrive when they cross the hill. When they reached their village was on the fire. Ian was shocked. Inside the village we see a bandit who was saying his group to quickly take the children so they can move on the next stage. They were grabbing the boy who was screaming. This boy's name was Douglas. His father tell that man to stop. However, the bandit appear behind him and kick him. Douglas was continue struggling. The bandit pulls his knife saying he is going to kill Douglas's father. He was ready to swing his knife. Suddenly ice came out of nowhere killing the bandit from the back. All the villagers was wondering what just happened. More pieces of ice starting to rain down from the air. Then it revealed this ice came from our protagonist. He was thinking that this ring actually allows him to use mana of the third-class magician. He walks down and joined the people in the village. Luckily none of the knights were injured. Ian was wondering if the alchemist he was looking for has survived. Douglas was screaming because his father was in bad condition. Ian tell him it is the mana poisoning. It is also known as the god's curse. Ian knows it's impossible for him to react mana by himself, so this work must be of the magician. Then Ian transferred some of his mana to that person and it worked. Ian was lefting saying there is nothing he can do. Douglas grabs hand of the Ian and asks him what he just did and his father is going to be okay. Ian explained his curse can't be cured and he provided temporary relief. Douglas was heartbroken. He says he needs to quickly go and find special flour so that he can make some medicine for his father. He says this flour can help him to neutralize the mana in the body. He rushed to go and get it. This moment Ian remembered the name he heard, Douglas. In Ian's past life, Douglas one of the best alchemists in the entire empire. Although he had a tough childhood, he was a genius. He has a deep hatred towards magicians because his father was poisoned by magician. He was also the alchemist who helped Ragnar to create poison to kill Ian. Now what will Ian do? Will Ian kill the one who made the poison which killed him in his past life? If you want next part of the manhwa, don't forget to like the video and leave a comment. Also subscribe our channel for more interesting manhwas.